Okay, so we're live. We are live. Okay. Counts down. Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Daniel's In podcast. This is the honest conversation where we talk about things around leadership, growth, personal development, and everything that helps you grow as a human. And I'm really excited about today's edition of the podcast, right? Because we have somebody who I really respect so much. He's someone who I saw his story, read about it, and I was fascinated by how far he has come with what he's doing currently. He transitioned from an industry that he was doing quite well to the creative industry. It was new, he was rusty, he was an amateur, but he decided to do it. And he says he did it for purpose, for passion. And I can say for a fact that today he has found a way to balance between passion, purpose, and making money. And he has somehow brought his community to life through his lens, and he's just doing it, and he keeps doing it, and he keeps on doing it. Without wasting so much time, please welcome Osamu Diame Imaswe to the honest conversation today. Hello, Osamu Diame.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Daniel. It's a pleasure. Thank you for the warm introduction.
Yeah.
So yeah, happy to be here. Let's get into it.
Okay. Without wasting so much time, I have a lot of questions to ask. I have a whole lot of questions to ask. But I must say that your journey into this is something I really that connects with me so much because I've always asked the question: how does one balance between what they know how to do, what they want to do, and what would make an impact in whatever they're going to. And I must say that one thing that caught my attention is the fact that you describe yourself as someone who is driven by curiosity. When did you realize that curiosity could actually guide your career and not just your interests?
Hmm. That's a good question. I believe for me, curiosity has just always been like part of who I've been as a child. I mean, as a child, it was probably a bit of a problem, right? I don't think I looked at it in point of view of guiding my career. It was just like I'm curious about almost everything around me, things in life, and then I have like passion for a few things. So, for instance, when I was in design, or when I started product design, it was more around first of all designing solutions for people, solving problems, making them happy, seeing the impact of what I was doing, or assume the impact of what I was doing, and also being able to create something that was beautiful. So I was curious as to how all those things came together. For film, it's how art affects culture, right? So I'm curious to see how it happens. I've observed it happen a few times. So it's just a part of who I am. I'm curious and passionate. So those two things basically kind of guide me, and I could be curious about things that are perhaps trendy, quote unquote, so AI, and it could be also be things that are not like common, are things that like are mostly unique to myself, but I still have like a passion for them. So my passion, my curiosity always go hand in hand for the most part. And when it doesn't go hand in hand, whatever I'm curious about, once my curiosity is satisfied, it fizzles out.
Oh wow, that's a lot, right? Because infusing curiosity into the conversation makes you the guy who is like an explorer. Like you always want to know things, you always want to get into spaces and be in control of them, right? Which is sort of amazing. But then I like to know, before directing and photography, what did you think your life was going to look like? Was this always the plan?
No, I wanted to become a carpenter when I was done with Teco. Just do tech tomorrow and do carpentry, make chairs and retire. Although I always had in the mind that I wanted to make films, but I didn't. So I don't know how to explain it, but I had the plan of making films, but I don't want to be a filmmaker.
Okay. Like how do you explain it? Like explain
So,
it
so,
to me like a 2 year old.
so let me try. So I've always loved movies, right? And then it was from a point of view of, oh, I'm definitely going to make films. Like I respect like before I like when I retire or something, I'll just make like maybe 3 films. I'll just be
Yeah,
there. Like, oh, I just want to make films because I love films. I was like, oh, I'm going to definitely make a love story, like a romance story. The usual
yeah,
boy meets girl story. Perhaps make one science fiction and maybe one comedy. So, in fact, in my head, it was always like just
yeah,
3 films, right? But then when I started in 2023, when I started thinking about changing career paths, I was getting disillusioned with tech in general, mostly because
yeah,
I work in industry where there's no permanence, right? Which is great. It's impactful, but like how impactful? It's solving more stakeholder values than actually solving problems for people or things that I care about.
yeah,
There are a handful of projects I can remember that I really cared about passionately in terms of
yeah,
how I affected lives of people. And that was probably
yeah,
project where I was traveling around Africa doing like research and helping agrotech companies basically solve actual problems for farmers in East and West Africa. But when I was thinking about film, I was thinking around the context of influencing and shaping culture and also looking at
yeah,
something that would outlive me, right? So one thing I love about the arts is that apart from being influential, they are there
mm,
almost like forever, right? We have the
yeah,
epics of Gilgamesh, which are maybe 8,800 years old. They're still stories that people actually are adapting today. So they live pretty long. I mean, some of the oldest stories we know are maybe stories from the Bible also. They are stories. Stories
yeah,
last over
mm,
time
mm,
and they shape culture. And for me, that was, that was quite important. So, yeah.
yeah. I think for me, what's really important to take out of what you just said now is that stories never die, right? They can grow old on people, but they never go extinct. The stories that were told decades ago are still being told today or can still be told today. I remember growing up and our parents told us stories. When I started relating with other children, I realized that the same stories that were told to us were the same stories told to them too. It felt like one person shared one story and then different parents took it, they ran with it, and they shared it with their children. Today, we don't get to talk about those stories. We don't get to share those stories with our children. Not everybody do, but you realize that there are some people who are repurposing those stories to turn them to books, to movies, to different forms of content, even on YouTube as well, right? So stories never die. They just get recreated or repurposed into a way that people still get to enjoy them. And I just like the fact that you made that bold move, right? And you decided to go for what you wanted. And I do hope that one day you go into carpentry, like you said, right? Uh, so yeah, I'd like
Fingers
to
crossed.
ask you this particular question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Okay. Was there a season you felt like you felt torn between stability and choosing a creative path? What was going on internally at the time?
I was I torn. I just shook head though. It's after I entered, I was like, wait to I was like, wait to we have to also look for money. Right.
Yeah,
So when I was when I like had made a decision to transition fully and I quit my job, I spoke to my girlfriend who's not my wife and I was like,
yeah.
we're talking about getting married next year, but I want to quit my job and do film. Right. And the only question she asked me is, would it make you happy? And I was like, yes, I need to make me happy and feel more fulfilled. And she was like,
I'm sure she must have been scared a bit.
I don't think so. But I mean, if she
Okay.
was, I didn't see it. But the point is, I believe one thing and situation we both share, which is with enough time you can figure something out. All right.
Yeah.
And I mean, we all know that consistency, and also like we have like a really strong faith in God.
Yeah.
We know that
Mhm.
once we decide to do something and we've prayed about it, it's a no-brainer. No matter how long it takes, it will come to actual fulfillment. So yeah, they were just that, you know what, let's start doing it now, because I was like, if I say okay, let me wait 1 more year, 2 more years, it's basically just taking the time I'm supposed to use to learn. Like if you're going to take 5 years, let's just start from
Mm.
2024 instead of start from 2030. Do you get? If I start from
Yeah.
2024, 2029, I'm there already. If I
Yeah.
go to 2030, then it be 2035, right? So just building early and starting early. I won't lie to you, my first year it was crazy. There were times I actually felt like, oh god, I'm not moving fast enough. Then I said to a friend of mine, I was like, you said you want to do, how long do you want to do film? I said, well, I mean, my plan is give or take 60 years. And I was like, yeah, just in your year one, why are you expecting to move as fast as, like, why are you setting metrics for yourself that you're not meeting and then you're feeling bad about them? That's in your year one. And when I
Mm.
went back, I thought about it. I was like, I've actually done a lot in like the past 18 months than maybe
Yeah.
most people who want to do, like, who even from the jump want to get into like doing like film. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you know what? I should be grateful and count my blessings instead of thinking about, oh, this money is not coming as fast as I want it to come, or these projects are not moving as fast as I want them to move, or oh, I don't understand this thing as fast as I should understand. I'm one of those people who I know that it takes a while to learn something, but sometimes I get frustrated, not to quit it, but like just get annoyed that why am I not getting this thing immediately? Because there are a lot of things that I just get immediately. So you know, like when you are that kind of person who can quickly get something, when you now encounter something that's taking you a while to grasp, you just get frustrated.
Yeah.
And in film, it's crazy because you are learning like multiple things. I'm trying to figure out how sound work, how set design works, how colorist work, how cinematography works, directing itself, writing scripts. It's just like a lot of things to balance, and you want to be pretty decent at them while also like obviously having your North Star. But like I come from a background of, I mean product design. When I started, it's not that everybody's doing vibe coding. When I started product design, in fact, you would learn the different ropes yourself. You would learn the research parts. You would most probably learn how to even implement some part of it. I have a friend who, back in the day, 2018, 2019, he just was just in product design writing code. Right now, he's like a proper UI engineer. He has been that since like 2020, funny enough. And it was just like, in this product design game, you have to know like everything. That was the ideology
Yeah.
there, right? So I kind of moved with that into film. And
Mm.
I mean, it has its disadvantages, but it kind of helps me also be pretty decent in learning how to direct. I mean, there's still a long way to go, but thankfully, I'm not starting from scratch. It's basically like transferred learning in certain areas.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be like a long way to go, right? Because I know that you talked about your journey as a product designer and how you had to learn everything and how right now people are vibe coding, right? There's always something new to learn in whatever you're in, right? But if there's one thing I'll take away from here is that sometimes the first year or the first period is not when you should ask for results, right? The first year is for learning, is for enjoying the journey. I remember starting out creating content. I decided to be intentional about it. When initially I started, I spoke to somebody and she said, do it like you're doing your 9 to 5, like you're doing your job, like you have a business and you're just how you show up for your business, show up like that. But I had a conflict within me because at the time I was okay, let me test the waters. I created and a lot of people engaged. And the next time I did again, it wasn't as high as the first time. And I was wondering what was wrong with what I was doing, right? Am I actually doing the right thing? And then it dawned on me that I was trying to get results of 5 years, of 10 years when I'm only in the first month, right? Or in the first week, even, or first 2 weeks, right? And I just told myself, if I want to create again, I'm going to look for somebody who is just starting, who has the momentum, but you don't have the following, right? I'm going to model after them because if you look at the big names now, right, you'd want to be as perfect as those big names. But Look at somebody who is creating with a camera that is not so good, their audio is not so good. I mean, they're doing fine at that level, but they are not so great, right? If you look at those, it helps you to balance between wanting to get it done right now and actually getting it, like doing something, right? So it's not just about getting an actual result, it's about being in the journey and enjoying it. And this brings me to my next question, right? In your opinion, why do you think so many young professionals feel pressured to have everything figured out early?
I mean, the answer is simple now. Social media, like it's
Okay.
we our brains are remapped for high dopamine words, keeping up with the Joneses. We also
Mm,
have this thing where the algorithm basically makes us believe that life should move faster than it does, and then we also want instant gratification, right? So that coupled all together, all of that coupled together on one person's brain, it becomes messed up,
mm,
right?
yeah.
You can't. It's hard as a human being to actually separate fiction from reality. Fun fact:
Yeah.
your brain doesn't really difference between fiction and reality. Trust me, the brain is a powerful dumb tool, right? Powerful but quite dumb. So I feel like a detox and then being able to realize that this isn't healthy for you can help remap your mind. And it cuts across everything, right? We're talking about career now, right?
Yeah.
But you can take almost every other sphere of life. You can talk about religion, politics, relationships, um,
Yeah.
tech itself, right?
Yeah.
Social media has used things to impossible standards, and now people are measuring themselves against edited standards, right? So one of the things that got me very disillusioned about social media was making film. I mean, I made a bit of content. Maybe you can check them on my YouTube. I'm making films, and
Okay.
the difficulty it takes to cut and edit to make something feel seamless is absurd. Like people go through that to post content online that you would believe and follow and take as truth. So that means is they are
Yeah.
most carefully curated and edited experiences that could either be true or exaggerated. Those are the things that you'd imbibe
Mm,
as your reality, and then you decide
mm,
to take that, right. It's basically you're waking up to people's curated highlights, and you think that that's the reality of their life. So you want to map your life and your feelings around these people's reels and posts. It happens for careers. I've seen a lot of people post interesting things in terms of them being product designers, filmmakers, whatever. And then you meet these people in real life and you realize they can't, this standard that they are posting online is not true.
mm.
Do you understand? And once
Yeah.
you have a mind of your own and you
Yeah.
are not swayed by those things, you do not, that pressure doesn't even exist anymore. Right.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like if you are there, you never really get real problems because there's family pressure, there's other important things to do. There are
Right.
other important pressures. There are pressures that are bigger than you. Do you get? I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
life becomes smaller. There's something a pastor says, which I find interesting. It says you can live if you have live a full life, right? That's just for you. Like you're focusing on yourself, like you're optimizing
Yeah.
for the best of your life. So like I mean that's what social media approaches right now. Live your best life. You like everything is about you, right? But
Mm.
like eventually that's a small life. The big a full fulfilled life is a life that you don't live for yourself, a life that is lived for a cause for others, right? Like live for an
Yeah.
actual cause that's bigger than you, right? You can't be expecting people who are actual visionaries building things, changing, shaping how nations work or how big movements work to be comparing their lives against highlights and reels of people. It doesn't work that way. So maybe have a bigger dream, have a bigger vision, maybe delete the apps for now if your mind can't handle it and just I don't know, be something bigger than yourself. Be the bigger dream. Like my friend Treasure Leader always says, say if the dream is not big and scary, not call my name. Like I don't want to be there. He gets involved in projects that are scary. And yeah, I share the same sentiments with him. So yeah, my advice to people who are going through that is first of all, get off the apps. Let's start from there. Right. We
Yeah.
align we examine what success means to you and make sure that you're not defining success by the app. So, like, what you have already been affected with, like, what does success mean to any personal skill? Then look at it objectively and say, hey, how long will it take me to get there? And what am I doing to move towards that direction? So, yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Treasure. Yes. So I mean, you've said quite a lot, right? Social media. Social media is, to me, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time, right? It helps us bring information closer to us, but then again, it takes something from us, right? It takes
Mhm.
our ability to actually appreciate where we are, right, based on where we're coming from. Sometimes most people don't see it, but you're actually farther than you think you are. And I've realized that lately, social media does something. It pushes people to want to move when they're not supposed to move, right? And for a solution, I probably would suggest a healthy alternative, like a book, like having personal time, family time, and all that. But it actually wouldn't take social media away, right? Some persons can't do without it lately than how people can go without having a phone, right? There are a lot put in phone that makes it difficult for people to leave it. So it's just fine if you find a balance. If you're listening right now and
Mhm.
you're actually having difficulty focusing, right? Like me, at some point, I just told myself that focusing is a problem for me because every time I want to work and I get a beep, a notification from my app, I want to look, I want to know what message that is, I want to know what I'm being asked to do. And before you know it, I'm scrolling again. Right. So what I do right now is I turn off my data so I don't get any notifications coming. If I do get a notification, then it's very important. Right. Sometimes an SMS, right? But it's okay to put your phone away, to put devices away and try to focus, right? So let's talk about something else, peer pressure, right? Sometimes there's a need to want to feel like other people, to want to be where other people are. So did you ever feel behind your peers basically during your transition? And how did you handle comparison at the time? Did you get the question? Can you hear me? If you're speaking, your mic is muted. Moria, can you hear me? Or is it my network?
From my end. Um, can you ask the question again, please?
Okay, so I wanted us to talk about peer pressure and comparison, right? Because I think they go hand in hand. So I was saying that, did you ever feel pressured by your friends, by your peers, when you're transitioning, and how did you handle comparison?
No, I didn't have that problem. So, like, I didn't have to handle anything.
Okay.
Again, that's where curiosity and like having passion for what you want to do comes into mind. So, how God does it for me is right. I was also just making new friends in the film space.
Yeah.
Like everybody that knows me, like we hear about what I want to do. Like, hey guys, I'm going to film. So if my guys in design, they're like, oh, okay, cool. Anytime they see anything that's to do with film, they're sending it to me from film reels to opportunities. I even feel pressure. I felt mostly support, right? And
Mm.
I even made friends in film and photography. Somebody ended up sending me something to apply for, and I got into like a fellowship that was sponsored by CC Hub about that last year. So like everything was just like mostly support for me in terms instead of pressure. So like, so if anybody has that, I'm sorry, I don't have the answers. I did have to experience the pressure that most people do. So yeah.
Okay. So this is like a follow-up question, right? Um, I know that you were able to transition, but do you think your the nudge to transition was based on the fact that you had leverage from your older job, right? Because I know for a fact somebody who doesn't make enough transitioning, having runway. I know in business they call it runway, having the runway to actually go somewhere else without having any backup. Do you think your job at the time was like a leverage for you to transition per se?
I know that we connect the dots going backwards, but
Okay.
knowing me and myself, I think I would have done it regardless. Like it's a nice to have, it's a good safe landing, a privilege that I have, but without it, I would have made a decision.
Okay.
So I, personally, I would
Okay.
have. Again, this is not advice to anybody because the truth is what I've done is slightly crazy, right? And I wouldn't advise everyone to follow that direction if they are not like ready to handle the insanity or uncertainty that comes with it. But being able to be slightly delusional about what you want to do, and again, the part that I already like had like safe landing from the work I had done for over half a decade as product designer. That really helped, right? But I know that I would have done it regardless because most times I basically something I have a passion for. Once I begin it, is just I just keep going.
Okay. So I'll just ask this, right? I know that transitioning is hard. It's a hard decision to make, and um, most times, personally, I feel like there's this thing holding me back if I decide to make a move into a space that I was originally not familiar with, right? So I like to ask from your perspective, right? How do you personally tell the difference between, oh, this is hard, I need to push through, and this isn't aligned, I need to pivot? How do you tell the difference? Right. I know that you got into film and photography and you sort of knew that this is a space for you. But how do you tell that this isn't just difficult? This I'm not aligned. This doesn't resonate with me. This doesn't align with my path, with my journey. How do you tell that?
It's basically a design problem. Then it's and the problem is where are you going to, right? Where what's
Mhm.
your not if what I'm doing aligns with getting me towards that direction, then I know that okay, cool. It's difficult, but I have to push through. If it's
Yeah.
something that I reevaluate and I realize this is not taking me closer towards my North Star, then
Yeah.
I can identify it as a nice to have and drop
Mm.
it or leave. Right. So for example, a very good one is there's a particular skill that would be nice to have. So for example, building my own plugins for that so that I mean manipulate certain things on in like Fusion, right? It's nice to have.
Yeah.
It's hard. Well, I know I give it a bit of I poked at it for a bit and realized I honestly want to be a director. This is a great skill to have, it's nice to have, but it doesn't take me towards my goal. It doesn't move the needle for me. Do you understand? I rather employ
Yeah.
someone who's at the studio because I have a studio who is doing that and it's something he's passionate about. Cool, that'll be nice to have for the company. I mean, studios mostly build their engines when they're doing VFX or maybe build on top of
Yeah.
what's something idea exists. But if it doesn't move me towards my goal, like I don't see clearly moving towards my goal, then I know that it's just a nice to have, but I won't lose anything by backing away and then just focusing on the hard problems that require my time, energy, effort, and consistency to take me towards like my North Star. So that's how I make the
Okay.
decision.
Okay. Nice to have, and this is not my thing, right? This is nice to have. I mean, it's fine, but not my thing, right? Um, so let's move into a space totally different from what we've been talking about so far, right? So I know you document lived realities in your city, right, where you currently reside. Why is telling those stories important to you beyond just creative work?
So essentially, where I stay,
Mm.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Can
hear
you hear
you.
me? Yeah, so
Yeah, I can
I
hear
mean,
you.
one of the things I realize where I am is that a lot of stuff go on, but the stories are not told, right? Sorry for the noise in the background, but stories are not like told or well documented, and sometimes
Yeah.
there are angles, I see or perspective I see that most people not see, and it is my duty as a person or as an artist to actually document these things, right? So I will take one of the projects on my, I'll take one of the projects on my portfolio as an example. When I went to
Yeah.
the pit in Kano, right, I was
Mm.
fortunate enough to encounter one of the guys who it has basically been a generational thing for them. Like his father, his grandfather, great grandfather have been basically doing it, right? Again, this place has been in operation for 500 years. So, I mean, you could
Yeah.
go there and you could look at the legacy of what's done, the beautiful time, that materials, and all of that. But for some reason, one of the first things I saw, which I mean, I went to a bunch of other friends that they didn't
Yeah.
even notice was how toxic the environment smelled, right? The chemicals that they were mixing, the lack of protective gear, the
Yeah.
the labor, the health hazard that was going like they were going through. You could basically see somebody who has inhaled fumes for a long time, right?
Mm.
And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, there's a lot of actual blood, sweat, and basically fears and life force that goes into creating all of this, right? And that was the story I
Yeah.
decided to tell.
Yeah.
So that actually influenced how I framed each shot, right? Um,
Yeah.
it made me tell the story differently. It made me capture things from a more empathetic and humane perspective, if instead of just it being purely aesthetic, right? So every
Mm.
picture I took had a story to it. So like that's what I do. So in my environment, I'm like, what are these untold stories here? What are the untold stories? What are the things people are not saying that I can probably leverage on and tell a unique story that people could have a deeper conversation around than just, oh, this looks nice, this looks fire. Oh, this is a nice time I picked. But like, no, what story would people, what are new things people will realize from looking at this project? Yeah, so that's basically my approach to how I tell my stories. And I do that for film also. Basically, it's like, okay, this is a simple one is boy meets girl, right? But there are a billion boy meets girl stories, a billion out there.
Mm.
But like, what
Mm.
what's the conversation I want people to have after watching my story? There are a billion stories on fatherhood. When someone is done watching a story I have created on fatherhood, what the kind of conversation they're going to have? Is it the pressures of fatherhood, the joys of fatherhood, difficulties, the nobility, or the effects of irresponsibility on like the family? So like those are the kind of stories that I like to tell. So like there's a general theme, and then there's now what's the focus for us. So that, like for example, something I'm working on right now is on grief. Right, I'm working on it for almost a year plus, but it's on
Mm.
what goes on when someone loses a parent, right? The effects on the child, the effect on the spouse also, right? Sometimes even the effect of that person and the community, depending on how influential the person is, and then how the person also processes grief, right? Like the non-linear approach to processing grief. So stories like that are things I have an interest in telling.
Mm. I can't wait for that to be out, right? Because I can relate. I can relate quite well. I'm also trying to write my next newsletter. I don't know if it's going to be the next one, but I'm also trying to write something around grief as well, right? Because, like you said, the effect of losing a parent, and it's always tough. And I've seen people um, turn out to be like they change entirely when something like that happens, right? It affects them in ways people can't understand. If you've never been there, you'd never understand. So I think I kind of get what you're saying. And then also movies shape society, and it's quite important that they are told from an actual perspective, like a real perspective, not just hearsay or let's make a story. They are told from an experiential perspective, right? And um, that's like that's like your responsibility as a movie maker to try to shape minds in a positive direction, right? Not just in a way that makes them think of doing the worst, right? Um, yeah. So I'll just jump right into the question, and I can't wait for the documentary. Is it a documentary? Is it a movie? I can't wait for it to be out. I definitely want to see it. Right. So I'll move on to the next question. Right. What do you think clarity actually is? Is it something we discover or something we build over time? I think he must have left. If you can hear me, please hold on for a bit. Network challenges. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm so sorry
Network,
about that.
right?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me clearly?
Loud and clear.
Okay. So my question was, what do you think clarity actually is? Is it something we discover or something we build over time? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was answering the question. Can you hear me? So I said it was
Okay, I
time,
can hear
mostly
you now.
mostly time, right? Sometimes you are fortunate enough to
Mm,
get the big picture, the big fuzzy picture most times, right?
yeah.
And I'm going to use a weird example. So, what do you think was the objective of the space race? Let's start with that. You know about the space race, right?
Not necessarily. I may
Okay,
not be
so
able to have.
so the space race is what got man to the moon, right? Eventually, it was one that got man to the moon, but it was more or less to show military might, right? So if you are looking at it from a point of view of we have to get man to the moon, right? You might take as much time as you'd want as a country, as a nation. But if it was a conversation of we have to show military might on XYZ deadline, you get the opportunity of going to the moon, inventing a lot of cool stuff, but also showing your military might. But you need a clear objective because
Okay.
a fuzzy picture
Yeah.
is, hey, we want to do space travel, we want to go to the moon. But a clear objective is we want to show military might, our technology, so technological superiority as a nation by doing something that's never been done before, which is basically taking man to the moon. Right now, we're talking about going to Mars and all of that. But the truth is, it was never about intergalactic travel. It was about showing military might, right? So that's why you have clarity, right? But it's also possible to work on something
Yeah.
without having the full picture. But you have started the work. And in starting that
Yeah.
work, you would not get there, you will not get towards clarity. So a lot of people who obviously would have joined initially in this like joined NASA and all of that. So basically, hey, you want to get man to the moon. But by the time you get on the project, you got start getting like a clearer picture of what needs to actually be done. Yes, we'll get man to the moon, but this is our clear objective, and this we have a timeline. So that means we are going to work harder, faster, more intense research, more intense focus, right? And that is what clarity helps with. But you never attain that clarity if you don't just start. So motion is very important, and the clarity comes right after. But if you sit down and wait for clarity, you wait for eons, years, decades, and nothing will happen. Are you there?
Oh
Hello?
yeah, 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 yeah. I am. My
Okay,
next.
cool. Awesome. Awesome.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Hi. Okay. Sorry, I had like a network challenge for a bit, but I got all you said, right? I got all you said, and it's quite vivid, right? Um, so for my next question, I'd like to ask, how do you balance the need to make money um, against passion, and should money be a reason for transitioning?
Can you say that again, please?
Okay, so how do you balance the need to make money and the need to create impact or moving in for passion? And should money always be a reason to transition?
I mean, everything's about impact and passion, and then being fortunate enough to get paid for that, right? I think it's
Yeah.
the Ikigai concept by the Japanese. I think it's Ikigai.
Yeah,
I'm hoping I'm not making a mistake in their concepts, but you basically find the thing that you are passionate about, thing that can create impact, and thing that you can get paid for, right? So
yeah,
for me, film falls into other category. I mean, the only thing that I know that may be bigger than the film industry in entertainment is the gaming industry, right?
okay,
I have a passion for playing games. I have a passion for making games. I enjoy playing games, but I have a passion for making games. So I like movies.
mm,
I like shaping culture. I know if I get pretty good at it, I'll
yeah,
get paid for it. I know that telling stories of any kind, when they are told well, is of value, and you get paid for value.
yeah,
So it just all aligns for me. So that's how I'm able to balance it by just looking at those things that intersect.
okay. And for someone who is listening, ikigai, it's like the balance between what you're good at, what you love, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for, right? I know you reference
Yeah.
ikigai, right? I just thought to like say this. I started reading the book just recently, and
Are you
I
enjoying
mean,
it? It's a very
I'm still
boring
on
read.
it.
It's a very boring read.
So I'm doing an audiobook, and I don't quite
Okay.
enjoy how monotonous it sounds when you're listening to an audiobook. But I mean, I'm still on it, still on the first chapter. I just got into the first chapter, so I probably will give you my feedback when I'm done reading it.
I dumped the book and read a few articles and I was good.
Right?
I do
Okay.
not. I don't
Man,
have remorse. I don't have remorse for boring books. I do not feel bad.
well,
I will close that thing up
well,
and move ahead with my life. Life is too short.
well. You're very correct, right? Right. Life is too short to waste your time on a boring book. So my next question is about talent and skill knowledge, right? Sometimes you feel like you have the talent or the skill set to move into a different career, and other times you're fresh, you're raw, you're crude, you don't have the knowledge, right? Talent and skill set is often emphasized when we talk about big moves. But what role has talent and skill played in influencing your own moves so far? Did you have the talent for creating movies or the skill for creating movies and photography, or did you have any of that before moving, right? And if you do, how has that influenced your journey? And if you don't, right, how were you able to balance, oh, I don't know this, I don't know that, but I'm actually doing it, right?
So first of all, I mean, I don't even agree about balance, about talent and skill and all of that. It sounds like a nice to
Yeah,
have. Sounds like
yeah.
a a thing that say Ronaldo and Messi have, which is we thank God for them. They are great at it,
Yeah,
right? But like
yeah.
the I mean, my parents are both alive, so the only thing I have with in common with Batman is that given enough prep
Mm,
time, I will figure anything out, and that's one belief
yeah.
I have. So I believe that if you have prep time and you just put body,
Mm,
like you are consistent and you are showing up consistently, not the one that are consistent, that you are showing up just once a month to learn a skill. You don't figure anything out. But like if you're consistent with stuff, right? With a skill that you're interested in, you build a skill so well, you build your skill so well that people will actually think it's
yeah,
a talent, right? It
yeah.
is it is so for me when let's even use photography. Now, I take really good photographs. I know that. But the funny thing is, the reason I take good photographs is because when I said I want to make films, I want to learn film, I said, what's the first thing you look at? So, like, what's the first thing I know about when it comes to making a film? It is a camera, right?
Mm,
Cinematography, all of that. But those are moving frame. I'm walking you through what my thought process was on that. A video is a series of moving pictures. I need to know how
yeah.
to take the first frame. That was basically my ideology. So it was even funny because for somebody who wants to be a filmmaker, I got an actual photography camera. I got a Fuji film, which is optimized for photo. But the idea is, I want to
Mm,
take really good photos so that when I transition to video, I know how to frame my shots already, right? Every frame needs to feel like a painting. So you would
yeah.
not believe the amount of practice I had to get with my camera. I am not exaggerating when I say I've taken over 10,000 photos, and I know it's way more than that. I know it's way more than that. 10,000 is it's way maybe 30,000. Like I know because like for instance, right? First thing I did was volunteer in church. I was in Abuja then, and on
Okay.
the average, you can take 700 photos on one Sunday. That just pictures I taken on
Yeah.
Sunday alone, and then we started
Yeah.
editing. Then I was learning understanding how color grading works of photos, how the color tell the mood of the photo, like the moods of the picture. So like everything was stacking on top of each other. So I was getting like crazy amount of practice, and that kind of was also how I even picked up product design because like I remember when I started out, right? Fortunately slash
Yeah.
unfortunately, I was kind of like the only de facto product designer, or the only person interested in product design at the hub I was in. And yeah, I mean, 2018, 2019, the hub, then everybody was testing out one startup idea or the other, right? And I was basically designing for everybody. Oh, you have an idea? Come out, design it. Oh, there's somebody doing this hackathon. I am the designer on your team. So basically, I was just getting a lot of practice in. So like, with practice, you become better. You train your eye, you train your hand, you train your thinking, and like you are seeing problems, like you're catching, let's say catching bugs, you're basically seeing, oh, okay, this is not the best approach. And they start looking like talent. Oh my God, you're such a talented designer. I remember when somebody told me, oh my God, I had just talent for design. I'm like, oh, my, this thing is like Gidio. Like, it's just learning and doing rubbish and correcting the rubbish and trying again. And it's got to the point where I may not even know how to use all the software design tools, but like I'm convinced that if I look at the particular design, I can replicate it because I'm like, it's to put this and do this and do this and do this and do that. And there's like 55 Ojoro I will combine to get to the output. Right. If I can
Yeah.
see it, so I used to get confused. I have a friend that me and him always get confused when we see templates online. Like all these templates are $100. I'm like, but I'm seeing the templates. Like, why am I buying it? They're selling your Figma template. Why? Like, if I see everything here, I can make it. Do you get? So I got to that point
Yeah.
where I just had a lot of work done. I just did like a lot. And for me, in fact, the reason I suck at sports is, for instance, because I will not show up enough time to be good at sports. Like that's just the truth. But like everything I have showed up enough time to be good at, I'm pretty good at it. I pretty much excel at it. You know that if and I see this way, oh, if I'm not this good yet at XYZ, or if there's a skill gap I have, is because I have one not learned about it, and two not putting the work to be skillful at it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's basically it.
Yeah. I think one thing I actually picked out of all you said is giving enough time to what you do, because that's the difference between somebody who gets really good and somebody who is just there. Enough time, practice combined together makes the work really, really good, right? So I like to ask now. We're just two questions away from calling this a wrap, but my first question before the last question is, let's talk about failure a bit, because I think that's where most people are pretty shaky, right? They second guess their decision, right? Because they are scared of failure. Okay, what if I don't succeed? What if this is not as I expect it to be? What do I do, right? So, have you ever experienced failure in your transition? And how were you able to deal with it in a way that you can tell somebody, okay, you're going to experience failure, but that shouldn't deter you from making that bold step, that making that bold decision that you have in mind, right? So let's talk about failure a bit.
I mean, I think first of all, let's first
Yeah,
define what failure is. Have I experienced failure in my transition? I don't know. I don't think I have. Are they projects have gone that haven't gone well? Yes, they haven't gone well, right? That things I've tried to do that haven't gone well. But
yeah,
essentially, I've always viewed life as one big experiment. So what happens in an experiment? You have a few parameters you put in place. If it works out, you learn from that, you document and like, oh, this is a way to do something. If it doesn't work out,
yeah,
you document and like, oh, this is a way not to do something. Uh, Thankfully, growing up, my relationship with failure was probably shaped like any kind of schools I went to, and kind of things I heard, right? And I remember
yeah,
one thing very clearly in primary school or secondary, I think secondary school, because it was Mr. Ido Wood that said it to secondary school. And he said, Thomas Edison season one said, again, I don't even know if this is true, but it stuck with me. It is, I have learned 1,000 ways how not to make a bulb, and I have learned one way on how to make a bulb, which means it's valuable knowledge. The thing you're calling failure is basically information gathering. in everything in life, like
Mm,
everything in life, like no matter what you think it is, every facet of life. When you feel like something is information gathering, because if you document that, like, okay, this is a way not to do it. Okay, cool, let's try another way. Oh, okay, this is it. Okay, let's try another way. What most people don't have is tenacity or
yeah,
a strong enough will to bounce back, right? So
yeah,
I saw something recently today, which was funny. I even posted on my status. I was like, the best skill you can have is how to quickly take yourself back to a good mood, right? And I mean, it was nice. It felt, I don't, a lot of people take away from that to be a mental health conversation, which is, or having like low neuroticism, bringing yourself to a good baseline. Well, my takeaway from that was you fall 7 times, stand up 8 times, right? In fact, there's a Japanese saying which I can honestly cannot repeat because I don't know how to speak Japanese, but essentially it is if you fall down 1,000 times, you get up 1,001 times, right? But how long it takes you to get up is honestly on you. Do you get, like,
yeah,
are you going to fall and get up in 24 hours? Are you going to fall and get up in 2 weeks? Are you going to fall and get up in 2 years? All right. It's like grief. You should have time to grieve. But I recently learned something that I don't know if it's a culture, but like they have a limit on grief. Like, oh, your grief time, no, like whatever you're grieving for, from death to heartbreak, you have a maximum of 30 days before you get back to your life. Like 30 days, grieve that
mm,
in, move ahead, learn how to now handle the grief with your everyday life as you're functioning. That kind of, we're not here to waste
yeah,
time, right? Like
mm,
30 days max. So if you do it less than 30 days, good, thumbs up. But they cross 30 days. And for me, it's that's like, okay, cool. Oh, this one is, oh, when this did go well, it's messed up. Cool. How do we go to the next one? I mean, I'm working on a particular project that's going to take me like maybe 3 months, and it's on a weekly rolling basis. And the first week was a total disaster. In fact, the second week was almost a disaster. But like from the two disasters that happened, I have learned something. And being able to like learn from the first week, I did something the second week to prevent a
yeah,
total disaster. And the output
yeah,
of the production I did was really great. I'm like, oh, this is really good. Like I love, like, the client loves it. I'm like, oh, okay, good.
yeah,
Like we're in like episode 2, right? We're in episode 2, but no, we're going to do a season 2 already. Do you understand? Meanwhile, the day one, bro, it was not even funny. I was just like, what kind of village people? How do village people find the Kaduna? Do you understand? So yeah,
yeah,
but like in my head, and one thing that always happens when, again, it works for some things, it doesn't work for everything. And I don't expect people to be like, oh my
yeah,
god, like if there's a problem, something is failing, I'm already asking questions. Why did this thing not work? What? Like, I'm a very inquisitive person. Again, put me in a lot of trouble as a child. A lot of adults also don't like it. Nigerians don't like being asked questions, but I'm very inquisitive. The reason is questions how I navigate the world. Like, I'm like a child in that aspect. It's how I
yeah,
feel around to know whether things make sense. And oh, why did this work? Oh, because I didn't do this. Oh, okay, if I have done something different, will this work? Okay, try it out. Oh, okay, that didn't work. Okay, let's go back to the drawing board. Okay, let's implement this. Coming up with ideas. I try not to dwell too long on failure because, I mean, what's the point? You still have to get up again, right?
yeah,
And you want to be able to build like that mental resilience of not staying down. You just want to be able to bounce
yeah,
back because like life
yeah.
has life has
And
been
I
like
must say that drawing the dots, right? For somebody who wants to transition, first you need a plan, and then you need a you need to be right.
you need
Yeah.
to be what now? I didn't hear you. Say first you need a plan and you need what?
Can
Can
you
you
hear
hear
me?
me? Yeah, you say first you need a plan and then what happens and what next?
Can you hear me clearly now?
I can hear you clearly. You said for somebody transition, first
My
you need a
network
plan. I
is
didn't hear the second
shaky.
thing you said.
Yeah. So for somebody transitioning, right,
Mm-hmm,
based on what you've said so far, right, if we
mm-hmm,
want to draw the dot or the roadmap, right,
mm-hmm.
first you need a plan, and then you need to be present and practice, and then you need to be resilient. You need to have some grief. You need to have some oomph to handle failure, right? And then you just need to keep going. So when you transition, don't just transition because of the idea of transitioning. You need to transition with, oh, okay, I'm going into this. This is how I would go from this point to the next point. And when you're there, be present and always show up. Show up in a way that everybody or that tool is has become accustomed to you. Or if that tool were to be human, they would say, okay, I'm fond of this person now because this person shows up every time. And when you encounter failure, use that as feedback to help you continue building. And
Mm-hmm.
while you're building, keep on building until you maybe not get to perfection, but get to progress, right?
Yes, exactly.
So that's all I've gathered so far, right?
Yes. Yes. Thank
I
you.
don't know if you've heard me to this point.
Yeah, I heard you clearly. Like you captured it very well. It's like you took everything, you said everything I said, just made it into a very beautiful, like little pamphlets, and I like that. So yeah, yeah, yeah. I think a good thing is practice makes progress, right? And if you show up every day, that means you're
Yeah,
practicing every day. So yeah,
yeah.
you don't need perfection. You just
So
need progress.
wonderful. So before we're almost at the mark of say closing, right? So before we go, for someone who is listening who feels stuck because they don't have a perfect plan, because I think that's where most people get it wrong. The plan is not supposed to be perfect, right? It just needs you to go in, right? And then you can always tweak and iterate until it becomes what you want, right? For somebody who do not have a perfect plan, what would you say? What would you say to them? What should you tell them honestly from your own journey, from your own experience? What would you tell them?
I'll tell them just start. You figure out the plan later. Just have a fuzzy picture, and it can be as absurd as you want it to be. See, you can say the reason you want to learn a skill is to get out of poverty or to buy yourself a new car. That's fine. Might sound stupid and shallow. It's fine. My point is get motion out there. Like just start. Like just start something. It's in motion. It's in. I feel like direction is very important, but
Yeah,
a ship pointed in the right direction that's not moving is useless. I'd rather take a ship that's moving that I can just like realign. All right. I know that there's motion. I'm not worried about motion. So get motion moving. Like I say, get motion. Get motion first.
yeah,
Build the ability to be resilient. Like, okay, failure is not something that you dread anymore. You're very, very resilient. You have a tough skin. You know how to see things as an experiment. And then whatever you apply that to, you probably be good at it. And
yeah,
also put your faith in God. Like all of this is great. All of this is beautiful, but like without faith in God and without actually also committing these plans to Him, it's sometimes not sometimes it just becomes moot. It goes from being something that's bigger than you to something that's just about you. And most times people are afraid because everything's about themselves, right?
yeah,
If it's about perception, it's about reputation, it's about how you'd feel, it's about how people see you. When your plan is bigger than you, when your plan is bigger than you do not just get afraid because of something as little as failure. So yeah,
mm.
those are my last words to everyone.
I mean, failure is not always little, right? But it's how you see it, right? Like the Japanese say, it's getting up is based on you, not necessarily the experience or the environment or the people around you. It is you alone, right? So
Exactly.
thank you so
All right,
much, Mudia, right, for being
you're
here,
welcome.
right? It's such an honest conversation as it is. It was raw, it was clear, and I think for people listening right now, they've gathered a few points and they know what the roadmap should be like, right? From planning to getting in and showing up regularly to understanding failure and to being consistent, whether at failure or at just doing what you do, right? You get past. And um, fear is a delusion, right? Fear is a mirage. It doesn't exist, right? It's just you trying to put webs where webs are not supposed to be. You're intentionally blocking yourself away from getting to that point. And I really enjoyed myself in this, I must tell you for a fact. And I look forward to a different conversation in the future, right? Talking about where we've gone from this conversation to the next. And you mentioned going into carpentry anytime, and like I can't wait to see you get there, right, and
Uh-huh.
actually do it because it's very unconventional, right? There was a time when it was a thing, but right now everybody wants to go to what is fancy, but that is what.
I grew up around a lot of timber, so I guess maybe that's an influence. And I also love chairs.
Yeah.
I love anything that could be made with wood. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's what innovation is all about: turning what currently
Exactly.
exists into what is contemporary, right?
Exactly.
Exists, but then you're using what you have into what people would like, not the other way around, right? So thank you so much. This is the honest conversation where we
Thank you for
have
having me,
honest
Daniel.
conversations, and today has been perfect. Thank you so much, and you also have an amazing time.
Yeah, you too. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye. And to everyone who has joined in, who has listened, thank you so much for joining in. It's the honest conversation. You can always connect with me on my socials, Daniel underscore Roz, and you get to learn a thing or two from my content and my journey as well. So thank you so much and have an amazing time. And this is recorded, so you can always find the video on my channel. Thank you and have a good time.